Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Feather from New Federal State of China. Welcome to our special English program, Miles Trial. We're live every day of the trial in the week during 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're here to bring you the latest updates and news from the trial. So Miles, in case you don't know, Miles is the #1 enemy of the Chinese Communist Party, and he is charged of 12 federal financial charges and 1 RICO. And beginning of May 2020, May 22, he started the trial in the Southern District of New York courthouse for the trial, and we're live every day to bring you the news. So for today, we're having a Jackson outside of the courthouse to give some updates and some news about a recap of the day so far because of the schedule change. So we are gonna do a recap for the day before because the English show we're gonna have to miss some of the portion of the day before because the trial this week is gonna continue until 5 p.m. So please welcome Jackson to the show and to give us some information of the day. I'm really excited to hear. Hi Jackson, how are you?
Hey, what's going on, Feather? How's it going, everybody?
Hi. So you were just out of the courthouse and then you were on trial all day today. So how is Miles today? Did you see him? Did he smile at you?
Yes, thank you. Just a heads up, there is a little bit of an audio issue on our audio is a little low, so just but with that being said, I did hear your question about Mr. He came out in a dark brown suit, white shirt, black
的那个线拔掉，让他直接用蓝牙就行。
Very sharp, very handsome.
Very yes. I kind of lose the audio connection again.
We had a line that wrapped around the room on the outside of the courtroom. Very interesting. A lot of people spoke up. Yeah, everybody got in on time. Judge, the
是这个没有，这个没有。
Thank you, Jackson. I had some trouble hearing you, but I hear you say about Miles is wearing this brown suit and a black tie. Is that right? And then you say what was wrapping on around the courthouse?
today, wrapping around
Yes.
trying to get into to do the trial in person. We had a lot more people show up.
现在我要开了。
number of weeks ever since the
Huh?
trial started, the trial started.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we still have some technical issues for the audio. So you said a lot of people showed up, like you mean the audience?
Yes, outside of the court.
Also, are they supporters?
Yeah, I believe the majority. I mean, a lot of people, familiar faces of everybody, from NYC. If you guys do follow us, you guys have seen them on the shows and whatnot. Yeah, definitely a lot of people.
Okay, for sure. How was the pace today? So, it's a long day. I know for everyone. It's starting at 9:30. There's 2 breaks. So one at 11:30 and the other one at 2:30, and then it goes until 5. So, so far, what do you think? How's the trial going today?
I mean, in terms of the new schedule, it's not bad actually. I mean, we start at the same time, 9:30. We got a break a little earlier in the day at 11:30, which is really nice. A lot of people were able to kind of take a break, go downstairs, grab a coffee, grab a salad and whatnot, and go back upstairs. So for me personally, I don't mind the schedule change, as long as it gets the job done, whatever it takes.
Right. So each day you have an extra 2 hours for the trial. So I heard a lot of news and updates from the courthouse from our lawyer, and we're pretty moving forward very efficiently. And I believe this 2 extra hours will give a lot of time this week to.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Well, because we do have Wednesday off this week, the 19th, there's no trial. So I believe the extra time, that it can really help make up a little bit of, the time
For
that we
sure.
are missing out on the 19th.
For sure. Thank you, Jackson. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I understand due to the technical issue and stuff, we have to cut off the panel from outside for now. But we have Max and Kevin in the in-house to do more discussion about the trial and the more specific details today. So
Okay.
thank you so much, Jackson, and we'll see you later at the office.
All right.
Hi everyone. So this is our X account. You can follow us at NFSC Speaks. For the latest news and updates on the X account and Getter as well. So we're sending live posts almost every hour to give the most recent updates live of the day. And also, if you want to know more details about the transcript and what's happening each day in court, you can follow us at an NFSC official. You can go on our website, nfscofficial.com, for the official court transcript for the details of the court. So thank you very much, and we're back with Kevin and Max to give us more details on what's going on today in general. I'm very curious because I haven't been to the courthouse. So let's welcome Kevin and Max.
Hi everyone.
Hi everyone. Glad to be back here again.
Yeah, so I heard a lot of things happened so far, and I know it's not over yet today. So can you give us a little bit, overview of the pace of the day, and what's your impression on Miles and on the audience?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So today we were doing witness number 19, I believe, right? Witness number 19, who we started the direct previous week on Friday. Basically, well, it was pretty swift for witness number 19, and we'll get back to why that might be in a bit. But we started with the direct of this week, and then it moved into the cross. And by right before lunchtime, I believe our first break was it
11:30. Yeah. Break
Yeah.
at 11:30.
Basically, we had introduced the 20th witness by then.
20th witness.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're still starting to, they already finished the direct, is that correct?
They did finish the direct, and
Okay.
right now, as far as we know, we're doing the cross
Okay,
examination. Yeah.
we're gonna talk about more that in detail. But so how's Miles today? I didn't get a chance to ask Jackson outside because the technical issue. Yes.
I mean, just the usual, very high energy, very high spirited.
Yes.
Very. He was also smiling a lot today as well. And I've never seen the line this long today.
Really?
During in the morning around, I guess I would say 8:40. The line literally wrapped around the room, almost to the
Okay.
elevators.
Oh.
So it was
okay.
very, very busy today. And
Yeah.
then
Did you guys make it in the courtroom?
yeah, fortunately, yeah. But
You were early enough.
early enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But as I was saying, there was also one of the supporters actually brought their child today, very young
Okay.
child. Name is George, I think. Feifei. Feifei. So
Okay.
she's very. I know she's very famous in NFSC.
Yes.
But her son actually got to walk up to, like the gates.
Okay.
Where the marshals are, and speak with Miles as well as speak with the marshals and Miles's lawyers.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, but it's very young.
Yeah,
young
very
child.
young.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
super cute. He was like about this high, wearing a blue
Wow,
suit.
yeah.
I mean, Miles was sporting a different color than usual too.
Yeah,
Today. It was a
what-
warm, like brownish coat.
Oh,
Suited
okay.
him very, very well. It looked very welcoming.
For sure.
And then, George came up and then was like pointing around, like the marshal was showing him around. It was very, very
that's
cute
nice.
scene
I'm
today.
sure that'll make Miles stay and then, make him feel very,
Absolutely.
very warm too. So far here there's a lot of things going on. It's quite being efficient, and I believe the 2 extra hours will give more time to the government to finish to bring up all of their witness. Let's do a little bit recap of
Yes.
last Friday.
Absolutely.
So last Friday we were looking at this witness from BitGo. So that's Sam Roberts, and he was
Right.
an employee of BitGo, and he was explaining what the Himalaya exchanges, what they were doing, hot wallet, a lot of technical
Right.
terms, and I think that gave a lot of a lot of people from NFSC and as well as the drawers and everyone in the room, very detailed introduction to Himalaya Exchange and H points. And also after that took a whole day, and then we met the manager. Sorry. That was we have the manager of Princeton, the compliance department.
BSA
officer in Princeton. That was before the BitGo, and then after the employee of BitGo, we had James Roberts Collins. That's the Mercantile Bank CEO and the chairman, and so we continued the cross-examination this morning. Right.
That's correct.
That's right. Okay, so let's talk about what happened this morning from him.
Sure.
Yes.
Well, basically, Mr. Collins was the CEO of Mercantile, and he was the one with the 79,000 page. He was the one with the 79,000 page documentation, and as you know, it got shortened to 16,000, and basically this arbitration was against Hamilton.
Yes.
Hamilton, because of their failed acquisition, and this morning we were able to learn why that happened to be. It was because the funds that were meant to be raised to acquire partial ownership or control of Mercantile, due to their crypto capabilities mainly. That's why they were a point of interest. But because of the funds being seized, they weren't able to follow through with the full acquisition. Right.
Yes.
Like the first payment basically was seized by was it the U.S. Marshals, right?
Yeah.
U.S. Marshals.
And then I heard, is it true that the Mercantile Bank came back at us at the Himalaya Exchange, because they unsuccessful acquisition. They came back at us and then sued Himalaya Exchange.
For
is that right?
20 million, if I remember
I believe there's an arbitration.
Yes.
It was an arbitration.
It's arbitration, and then it was the result was being that Himalaya Exchange paid 20 million to Mercantile Bank because of the.
I'm not too clear on that because they never brought it up in court.
Okay.
All that was brought up was that.
But acquisition was unsuccessful.
Yeah, it was unsuccessful.
Right, because the funding Himalaya Exchange was seized.
Yeah.
Right. And this is what's caused the arbitration.
Yeah.
Right, between Hamilton and the Mercantile Bank. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So is there any evidence that's shown that's been present with this argument?
I mean, first they just were trying to show the link between William G and the entities, for example Hamilton, and then they also played one of the videos, H going to the moon.
Right. Again.
So they showed it to the witness and the jurors again
for
the second time, and they asked the witness what they consider this video to be, and this witness mentioned that it was just a pure marketing tactic.
Tactic. Okay.
Yeah, that's what he viewed it as.
Yes.
And then after that they moved on to more evidence, and there was a lot of emails that they showed between William, or text messages as well between William and the CEO.
Okay. Is all that to prove? What is it? What do you think that they're trying to prove with all the evidence?
They just trying to show a link that who was giving the instructions, or who was opening the bank accounts, or who wanted to acquire Mercantile.
Right.
Yeah.
And then all that is there anything to do with Miles personally?
Well, yeah, they actually went into like a loan facilitation about how his yacht was moved as collateral for his security, and there was a lot of text messages showing the urgency that William G needed from them. So that was their main point. I believe they were trying to paint this picture of like this shady entity trying to acquire a bank, but because of like government seizures, because of like the bankruptcy trustee and whatnot, they were forced to like terminate their agreement with this entity, right? So I believe like that was like their main purpose of bringing this person on. A lot of the others, like the details, like for example, H going to the moon, was also to somewhat support the fact that perhaps this wasn't like a legitimate thing. But all this was brought up again in the cross examination. So I
Yeah.
believe the cross is where most of the nuance was shown, right?
Then, yes, for sure. Is there other highlights you want to mention in the direct that they're trying to do with the evidence as well as the arguments with the Himalaya exchange here?
So I believe the prosecution spent a lot of time talking about the redemption. William G wanted to redeem some like tens of millions from Mercantile Bank,
right?
And they were showing screenshots of that, and I believe that the CEO, the witness, actually never approved the redemption, so it's just it was denied, and then that was also talked about in the cross as well.
Okay.
So basically, due to what was going on with the securities and the collateral, William G attempted to liquidate essentially $46 million in terms of HCN into HDO.
What do you mean by the redemption and liquidating? Can you explain that a bit more?
So essentially they were trying to, because this Mercantile Bank has a specific crypto capability to hold and exchange cryptocurrencies as if it was like real currency. Basically, they tried to process a redemption, as in like, if William G held HCN, he could liquidate them in favor of HDO for like USD, right?
Right.
So $46 million of USD. And a lot of this was represented with urgency when we went into the direct, as in like, oh, I have to pay back this loan. But through the cross, it was actually revealed that it was, even though he wasn't thinking of approving this transaction, William G was the one who actually terminated the transaction before the date actually came up.
Okay.
So there was some more nuance going on in that part.
Okay. Then we'll get to that right away with the cross. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you have bring a lot of really strong arguments, seemingly strong arguments by the government. So what was the cross like?
So the cross. Do you want to?
Yeah, I mean, they first talked about the redemption. They made it clear to the jurors that William G was the one that eventually called it off in the end, and the Mercantile CEO didn't even, I believe, respond or acknowledge the fact. And then afterwards, they talked about, I believe, they brought up some evidence showing, or like documents showing, there was a letter to the OCIF, which is the regulator that regulates banks such as Mercantile, and Sid, the defense counsel for Miles, he was talking about how even after all the I guess not mistakes but sort of arguments, I would say, or disagreements that between the two entities.
Yes, like Hamilton and Mercantile.
Yeah, exactly, and the CEO, the witness, still decided to move forward with the acquisition.
Okay.
Because I believe the OCIF letter was dated sometime in April, mid-April.
Right.
And then the disagreements happened in like March and early March or late March.
Okay.
And so it showed to the jurors that, despite all these disagreements in the past, he still wanted to move forward with the acquisition.
And this was also outlined in their due diligence when they said that, when they wanted this partnership, this relationship, Mercantile had done due diligence.
Every single entity, I
mean,
believe.
Exactly. Yeah. And this goes back to like the previous witnesses, Jamie Wilson as well as Samuel Roberts.
Yes.
They were both brought on to say, oh, we terminate our agreement, right? But the problem is that they had all done their clearances, their due diligence, their background checks, and everything pointed to the fact that they could open these accounts, they could fund them, and that's exactly what they did, right?
Yes.
And it was perhaps through external pressures
such as the so-called negative press that they found openly on the internet, like Google, right?
You're right, right. Yeah. And then, Mr. Roberts also cited the fact that he was put under pressure by the government subpoena to investigate, like, the Himalaya exchange. And now today, it was more so, basically, he felt that there was a complicated situation with Mr. Guo, and he actually said something in favor of us. He said Mr. Guo was the enemy of the CCP, right? And that absolutely confirms our case that because it was Mr. Guo fighting this war against the CCP, a lot of these mishap was presented, or like these obstacles were presented, right?
Yes.
And the fact is that due diligence was run on everything, including G clubs. It was run on the UBO of G clubs, etc., G fashion, and they just wanted to make sure that Mr. Guo had no operational control over these entities. But the thing is, like, they ran these due diligences, they confirmed all these things, and therefore the relationship had begun, as we saw with all the other entities, right? So the relationship had begun, despite their concerns about Mr. Guo.
Yes.
They were able to establish the fact that he wasn't the UBO of G clubs, of G fashion. He, despite his complicated situation, he had no operational control.
Yeah,
right?
direct operation.
Exactly.
Yes, for sure. So like the seems like this the CEO had established like a pretty smooth and good communication with the Hamilton previously, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, another important point that I'm sure the jurors picked up on as well was, so the original indictment, states that Hemline Exchange is, like a fraudulent scheme, not a real cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
But, throughout the cross, Sid, he was able to get the witness to, mention how Mercantile works with a lot of, legit cryptocurrencies. And how they hold a bunch of digital assets such as crypto. And so he sort of associated Hemline Exchange as a real cryptocurrency exchange, just because of the fact that Mercantile has all these other customers that are cryptocurrency exchanges. And he also mentioned that the witness also mentioned that he wanted to actually start a cryptocurrency exchange before he started Mercantile Bank.
Okay.
So there was always that interest. And so, I mean, then from that point on, it was clear why, out of all the other, customers that Mercantile had the chance to work with, he ended up choosing Hemline Exchange in the end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So because what do you know? Did he explain why he chose Hemline Exchange?
Yeah.
He was actually more interested because when William G came up to him with the proposition, he was also considering some other investors.
Yeah.
Right.
I forgot which other investor it was. Do you remember?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure the name, but
So you mean like there's a bit of competition,
Right, and then,
also
as
Hemline Exchange was trying to find a partner in this
exactly,
too. So
exactly.
yeah.
So like because Mercantile had competition as to who would want to do like the partnership, they obviously did a lot of background checks and concluded that they want to go forward with the partnership with it.
Despite all the things they read about, yes.
Yeah. And one key point to mention is that the witness said Mercantile was the first U.S. bank to hold digital assets in custody. So the first ever, right? And they said that they might not provide, their services for certain cryptocurrencies because, due to regulations, commercial prospects or concerns about onboarding certain, cryptocurrencies. But the fact that they, they did all their research, all their due diligence, right? And they chose to onboard Hemline Exchange and take them on as a customer. It just goes to show prove the legitimacy of Hemline Exchange.
Right, and it was also revealed that Mr. Collins had a bit of background in like hedge funds. Like he worked as part of a fund prior called Mother Rock, the Mother Rock Fund, and he was employing this algorithmic trading as a part of like Yodesta. Yodesta was a futures trading, algorithmic trading, like investment strategy that he employed. And although he wasn't a certified like investment strategist, like he was able to employ this with investor funds. And also to make it clear, like he was making a lot of money from the money that was flowing in from like G clubs, right? So he had the incentive to partner up with and allow and fund these G clubs. Like many other, for example, Haytham Khalid was also making like supposed commission, right?
Yes.
But his situation is different. But Collins was making a spread as well as a transactional fee on the money that was flowing in. So he had incentive to work with a partnership this big. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Keep in mind this is a very smart man, right? You can tell by the way he answers in court. He's very careful in his words, and he has prior experience in this industry as well, and he's a CEO, right? He does his due diligence, right? Because at the end of the day, it's his responsibility who Mercantile partners with, right? And he chose to partner or partner with Himalaya Exchange, right?
Yeah, for sure. And he must be in this industry for like over decades, 20 years, 30 years, who knows, right? But his experience and knowledge definitely allowed him to understand, also to do this work before to choose his partner in the best in benefit for each parties, right?
Yeah. And there was a point that I wanted to bring up because I'm personally curious about this. Before lunch, when everyone was dismissed, there were talks about bringing up a documentation, a 20-page excerpt out of the arbitration, I believe. And there were talks.
So you mean the defense team want to bring up this document of 20-page?
Right, and you could see that they were already preparing because they were talking about his sworn statements and declarations that he submitted as a part of like the arbitration
between Hamilton and the Mercantile Bank.
Yeah, exactly. Good clarification. But basically, they were looking to impeach like his testimony with parts of the arbitration that the government had objected to. Now, I wasn't here after the lunchtime, so do you know where any of that went?
I don't believe they used they were able to use most of the testimonies in the arbitration, but there was some mention of it, but they didn't get into details.
Gotcha.
Okay, but they didn't say how this is gonna go forward with the impeach and then.
No.
Okay, but this was mentioned.
Yeah, it was mentioned. Yeah.
But you can tell that arbitration, especially in the legal context, played a big part of why his testimony was rather short or swift in respect to the fact that he had a 16,000 page like documentation provided by the government, right?
So he wouldn't remember everything in the document, right? Is that what it is? And also, are they using this documents to go against his testimony, right?
Yeah. The defense wanted to bring up the arbitration. Right?
Okay.
Yeah, so we swiftly then, I think we went back to, we introduced witness number 20. Forgot.
20? Sorry, is there anything that happened, was mentioned before this morning? I forgot to ask.
Another point I want to touch on is the KYC, right? I know we talked about due diligence earlier. Mercantile, they ran their own thorough KYC on Himalaya Exchange, right? And those entities,
because they're the one receiving the money, right?
Yeah. So. And then also did really thorough due diligence, I'm sure. And they on G Clubs and G Fashion as well.
Okay.
And they found that the UBO of all those entities was not Miles or any of his family members. And they found that Miles didn't have operational control at all over G Clubs, G Fashion, or Himalaya Exchange.
Because I remember, because I was there on the direct, the beginning of the direct, right? And I remember him mentioning that, with all the diligence, when they were doing the diligence and the KYC, they didn't, they find that Miles was not the ultimate beneficial owner of any of the entities.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the question was asked, if you knew he was the beneficial, the UBO, would you still do business with him? And then he said no, right, for all of the three entities.
Yeah.
So I thought that the argument they're trying to bring up, or the connection they're trying to make, is that he is not the UBO on paper, but he actually has a say in it. Am I correct?
Yeah.
They're trying to,
the prosecution's trying to make that point, but Sid was very clear in saying, does he have operational control? So operational control wouldn't mean on paper, in the day-to-day activities. And the witness clearly answered no to all those three questions. And he also mentioned that, they conducted a risk profile on Miles before, found his past history, and they determined that it would be very problematic for Mercantile if he was connected to anything, which is why like you said earlier, that if he was a UBO, then they would not choose to do business with all these entities, right?
And also he's on the OFAC list, right? Did they mention that too?
No, they don't. I don't believe they mentioned OFAC today.
Yeah, OFAC is the Foreign
Office of Foreign Asset Control.
Yeah, Office of Foreign.
Basically, a sanctions list that if any individual is on that list, they're likely to be a criminal, and the I guess the relevant government departments will get notified, and all transfers or wires will be blocked. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and there was a very, very small detail, but I believe an important one. And it was during the cross, it was revealed that none of the documentation, none of anything that was signed, any of the wire transfers, even like meetings, right, between these entities, none of them had ever had Mr. Guo's name on it, right? And this has been a pattern, because even though, you know, we know that these are Mr. Guo's like visions, his ventures, right?
Yes. Yeah.
He actually has like compartmentalized like every single one of these entities very, very well, and these are very like meticulous, articulated entities that you know has its own running head, have their own like departments and whatnot. And I think that's a very, very distinct visualization for the jurors to understand that, you know, because we have to take it back to the big picture. We're trying, like, the government is trying to indict Guo on these fraud charges.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so when you take a look at these big pictures, all these small details, even though like the government's trying their best to prove like, oh, for example, this wire transfer is going to this entity, that wire transfer has gone to that entity. When you take a look at the big picture, I believe that the jurors can see this is like a very well thought out ecosystem that benefits the people who participate in it. These are real legitimate businesses, right? And it also goes into witness number 20, the next witness.
Right, and I also wanted to mention that, you know, a lot of witness, like the former fellow fighters, everything they say has to link to MILESGUO. And then, you know, because MILESGUO said in the such videos, that's why they listen to them. But then, you know, when you look at the business and the documents and all that, you know, and then also they were showing what the role that Miles played in, let's say, GFAC and G Club, that he is actually an ambassador. Right? He's actually the marketing person of the whole G series and all the investments. He's actually, you know, even participating, you know, taking pictures and all that just to promote this, because he is actually the number one, I'd say, influencer. But for all that, so people, you know, would listen to get to know about these opportunities, right? Because all the people who actually operating them, they're not you know, in front of the camera. They don't have like actual influence over the fellow fighters or the potential investors. So he is actually playing the role of like an ambassador and a marketing person, right?
Absolutely. And like you said, you know, the past like victim witnesses, they've all been like, oh, because I trust MILESGUO, I put my money in this. Because I heard MILESGUO say this, I put my money in that. But when they were actually asked to identify who told you to like send, whose address, like, did you get like
which instruction you followed?
Exactly. Whose instructions did you follow?
Yes. And did you read the contract carefully, right?
And that's why a lot of them got frustrated, because they had to answer these questions directly. They couldn't just they want to say, you know, oh well, I trust in MILESGUO, and MILESGUO told whoever to send me these instructions, but that's not the case, right? Because we have to look at the full picture in the legal context, right? What is MILESGUO actually being charged with? And I don't know about you guys, but to me personally, it doesn't look like they found any substantial link between MILESGUO and these entities so far.
No, exactly.
Exactly. So you're totally right, and also I believe those people, the former fellow fighter, the so-called victim by the government, take the most of the time questioning, because you said they're not answering the question directly, and then a lot of questions being stricken and they have to be asked over and over again. I was just reading the transcript this morning, so you know, maybe so far the progress they made is due to the efficiency of the both government and the defense team, and as well as the witness, right? So the cooperation of the witness is very important too. So you want to move forward to the next witness? Is there, you know, how long did the 19th witness last? Like this CEO of Bank of Mercantile.
For today,
how long did it last?
I think I would say around from 9:30 until 11:30, and then from 12 to 12:45, so like around 3 hours, I would say.
So you mean like, the 19th witness? Not
19th witness,
okay.
3 hours, and then well, I mean the 20th witness came on at like around 1.
Around
is
1.
ongoing right now.
Okay,
as well.
So like after the break, lunch break. So they finished the examination for the 19th witness before the break. Then they started the 20th witness right away after the break. Okay.
And can I ask, was there like a redirect or a recross for the 19th?
There was a very short redirect, but no recross.
Right. I think we were all pretty surprised at how like quick the testimony was from the 19th witness. Considering his background, considering all the supporting documentation that he provided.
Of course.
But the 20th witness, do you want to introduce her?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
so
we can do a brief introduction of who this person is and what does he do.
So the 20th witness, her name is Christine Frosini, and she's a broker associate for a real estate firm called Prominent Properties. And she specializes in residential properties, and she's been a realtor for 20 plus years, and her area is the Bergen County, New Jersey area.
Right.
And so she's involved here as a witness because she was on the seller's side for the sale of the Crocker Mansion back in 2021, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she was the real estate agent that that successfully made the deal.
Yeah.
Regarding the Mawa home base,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, sorry,
To
she
my
represents the
underst-
buyer.
Yeah, to my understanding, she
Okay.
had a very, very specific, like, particular role.
Yeah.
It wasn't like the whole picture, right?
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was
no,
Okay.
just making sure that the attorneys had the documentation in terms of this deal.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So she's not the person that directly involved in the deal, right? Is she the one making the deal with the?
I mean, she represents the buyer, which was Taurus Fund LLC, and we've seen that name
Right.
before, right?
Yeah.
In
Okay.
previous evidence.
Sorry, she represents the seller or the buyer?
the buyer. The
Okay,
buyer.
the buyer. Okay.
Yeah, and the primary contact was she liaison between Aaron Mitchell, who
Okay.
is one of the lawyers for one of the GSERs.
Yes, the office
Entities?
lawyer. Yeah.
Yeah.
In-house lawyer.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so her communication between Aaron was sort of just I guess managing the sale as well as communicating between both parties, the buyer and the seller, to facilitate the viewings, the showings, and anything to do related with the property.
Okay. Yes, and then this is like the general background.
Yeah.
Usually they ask if this is the first part of the questioning, and then they kind of just dig in forward with the involvement with
Right, and it was like a lot of the previous witnesses. I feel like we can call them like almost filler witnesses, the ones with not really much substance, because they were only asked to, like, for example, read specific parts of documentation, and it became like relatively clear the objective of the prosecutors, because they wanted her to repeat the fact that who did you understand the buyers to be? Right, like, and she repeatedly said, Guo family, MILESGUO, his wife, his daughter, like, to paint it as like, this wasn't like an investment property, it was like for their personal family usage, right? And they also talked about like the renovations.
To her understanding,
yeah,
right?
to her understanding,
To
exactly.
her understanding that she
yeah.
thinks that this property is used for personal use.
Exactly,
For a single
yeah.
family of 4, right?
Yeah.
Right,
yeah,
right.
and we've seen this before as well. Like,
Yes, I believe it was mentioned in the translation document, and it was stated that by Miles that it was not just for family personal use.
Right, and but they were trying to obviously build this whole picture.
For
They were
sure.
talking about renovations, floor plans in a way that felt like it was a family moving in and they wanted to do renovations.
Yeah,
right?
renovation that cost I don't know
Yeah.
how many $1,000.
Yeah, $26 million
Yes.
deal on this property, but
Right. Yeah, this is also part of the opening statement by Mr. Ferguson from the
Yeah.
government, saying that he uses the investors' money to purchase cars and buy purchase house that's from using the investor money for himself for personal use. And also this is also one of the arguments they're trying to bring up
Absolutely.
with this specific witness.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And they were shown text messages between, as I mentioned earlier, Aaron and Christine, the witness, and it was just her talking about how about the viewings, as well as I believe that they actually the buyers actually stayed overnight as well, just to see how how it feels to live in that house as well.
Right. Did she ever mention that she met with anyone, from the interested buyer? Did she meet like in person with anyone that wants to buy the house?
Yeah, she mentioned that at each showing there was a bunch of people present. There was Aaron, there was Miles, his wife, as well as security, and I think more lawyers as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of basically her job revolved around the contact between the lawyers, and the direct was relatively swift. As I said, we've we brought up the Crocker Mansion before in the trial.
Yeah.
We've seen like the picture and the objective that they're trying to prove. So it was pretty swift. I think by 2:20 we had already dived into the cross-examination, and as people might know, 2:30 is when we break for our second break. So we only experienced 10 minutes of
the cross.
Yeah, of the cross.
Wow, okay.
So we actually wouldn't know exactly what's going on at the moment right now.
Yeah.
So for the viewers at home, if you're interested, please tune in tomorrow for the recap
Yes,
of
definitely.
the court following today. But like I said, because there's so less substance to dive into here, particularly because she wasn't offering much of a testimony, it was mainly just to read off like documents that she
Right.
had signed on.
Okay.
And
So she's not like the person that actually followed this deal from the beginning. She was more of like the person who signs all documents, or is she like involved in the purchasing? What's her role in this?
Her role is just her role was to facilitate this, represent the buyer, which was Taurus Fund, and facilitate the sale of the mansion, right? That's all she knows. That's the context of what she knows, right? So she doesn't know anything about Miles or what the house is going to be used for. She just knows that Taurus Fund was able to buy the house for $26 million.
Yeah, and it was a agreement between Taurus Fund SP and the Crocker Mansion LLC.
Yeah.
So Crocker Mansion wasn't like a person, let's say, it was also a business entity,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So she was facilitating this business transaction between two entities. So
Okay.
that's a very important distinction to make.
So-
She doesn't know if Taurus Fund represented MILESGUO. She didn't know who was in charge of Taurus Fund, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Like we had already gone through this many times during the trial as well.
Right. So but then she said it's actually two entities.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
talking about this purchasing this house, but then she mentioned it's for personal use.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, she also mentioned that it's pretty common for entities to buy houses as well. So
Right.
like anything out of the blue, especially for houses as expensive as this, right?
Right. So like okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, except for text messages, is anything else that they shown to the everyone in the court regarding to this?
There were some
this?
documentations that were signed
Yeah.
on her behalf, but there was one document that the director had brought up where when we went back in the cross, it was actually clarified that she had never seen it, she had never verified it, and there was no mention of Mr. Guo or Mr. Guo's family, his wife, his daughter, anything on that document. So we can see like a back and forth of this this pattern between the prosecution and the defense, right? Because even when you zoom in, like I said, even when you zoom in, you have to look at the full picture of what indictments are actually being charged here. So that's a very distinct clarification to be used. But yeah, I believe because the witness number 20 was so short, we could benefit from circling back to maybe talking a bit about the cryptocurrencies, because we talked about cryptocurrency in witness number 19.
19 as well, right?
As well as
Okay.
number 18, Samuel Roberts. He was a very crucial person to build the structure of what Himalaya Exchange actually is, right? Because it was a very eye-opening experience, I'm sure, for the jurors and anyone who wasn't that familiar with cryptocurrency in general, right? To paint this picture of what was actually going on behind the scenes.
So in your opinion, how was the government's arguments being shown in court so far? What do you think about the main argument they built and how successfully they have tried to prove it? Do you know? How do you feel about?
So basically, if we want to circle back to Friday when we introduced Samuel Roberts, was it introduced for Friday? I can't remember,
I think it was
but
Friday,
Yeah,
but
mainly
essentially
Friday.
the full day of Friday we were talking about Mr. Roberts, and the whole picture that I believe that they were trying to paint was this Himalaya Exchange is some secretive, under the cover operation where investors can't pull out their funds,
Yes,
or you can't direct.
it's because the funds were seized, right, by the government.
Well, that's one
too.
thing.
And then another thing I wanted to mention, the funds for let's say the GTV, right? The private placement and all that. The estimate there's a value, the estimate value to the GTV to this entity once it's being listed, right? There's estimate value, and then this is the value that was promised before this company's been listed or before it's going on the market and all that. But then but right after it opened to the public, right after it start, let's say day one, then the funds, everything get blocked. Everything, you cannot take out anything, and then this being shut down, the bank account being shut down, the money's been seized. So how do you let this company grow or develop when you shut it down for the first day? Right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the Himalaya exchange, before and then calling it's a fraud.
Right.
Right.
And to bring it back to today's witness, witness number 19, the reason why the acquisition of Mercantile Bank was unsuccessful was because the funds, the $49.5 million that was initially sent to Mercantile from Hamilton was seized, right? It was frozen at first and then seized, and now they're trying to use this as a point to prove that it's a fraudulent entity, right? So I find that very interesting. But going back to the argument of Samuel Roberts,
yes.
It was very interesting because I think the most important thing was the fact that they had to distinguish between on-chain and off-chain transactions. And that was a big part of their argument, right? Because the way cryptocurrency works, to basically simplify it, is what we use as a blockchain. So a blockchain is a publicly viewed ledger of what transactions take place. So Himalaya Exchange operates on a private ledger. So basically all the transactions are internalized, right? So it goes from HTO to HTN privately without it being publicized on the public blockchain.
Right.
So this is a very important distinguishment to make, because Samuel Roberts, he didn't have access to Himalaya Exchange.
Yeah, without an account or purchasing something by himself, right?
Even that, he wasn't able to access any of Himalaya Exchange's internal documents. He wouldn't have ever seen anything about investors submitting funds or things being pulled out. All he had access to was the public ledger, aka the blockchain, right? He could only view stuff on the public blockchain. So this was part of their argument, saying that this is
based on his only analysis on this one part of the the exchange, and then he gave XYZ conclusion on this, right?
right,
Okay.
yeah, for sure.
And then also I believe BitGo was providing only a part of the partial service, right, to Himalaya Exchange, so they wouldn't have the full access to everything, all the information public by the Himalaya Exchange, right?
Yeah. So
it's like you said, internal wallet. You wouldn't, I wouldn't see what the transaction you made when your wallet were, right?
Yeah,
or you couldn't see in mine. So it's completely private and off the chain. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Anything you want to add? Because I know you're into finance, and you can give us some more insight.
I wasn't actually in court on Friday, so I didn't hear his testimony. But I was going to talk a bit more about
regarding
today's the 19th witness.
Yes, with Himalaya Exchange.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mentioned this earlier too, but he's a smart guy, right? He does his own research, and it seemed throughout his testimony that he had a personal interest. He was actually really sort of excited and enthusiastic about taking on Himalaya Exchange as a customer, because they mentioned that he chose Himalaya Exchange over another company. Right?
Did they mention which company?
He didn't mention it.
Okay.
I think
it was mentioned, but unfortunately we lost the detail.
No
so
worries.
check out the transcript afterwards.
So Himalaya Exchange did have a competitor.
So he did have a competitor, and it seemed he was really interested because he went to London, where it was based, to to speak with William G for a couple of weeks as well, and he also mentioned that, or Sid brought up the fact that the witness perceived that there were synergies between Himalaya Exchange and Mercantile. So basically, synergies are beneficial to both entities.
Sorry, what was that?
Synergies.
Synergies.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, beneficial effects of the acquisition. So both companies would be better off after the acquisition. And he also discussed with one of the, I believe, head traders of the Hamilton entities. about suggestions on how to improve Himalaya Exchange. So it seems like he went out his way to sort of think up these ideas and suggestions that could actually help improve the exchange. And so I don't think he would do that if he wasn't actually interested in the exchange as a customer, right?
For sure.
And then
and he chose the Himalaya Exchange over the other one, and then
exactly.
He went out of his way to trying to make this a very successful deal, and also for long term a better future for the both entities.
Right. So like as Kevin said, it was a very very symbiotic relationship as was represented in court. Like we the Himalaya Exchange wanted to acquire partial control because of Mercantile's crypto capabilities, right? As we mentioned earlier, like they had a lot of crypto
You mean
capabilities.
Like Mercantile?
Yeah, Mercantile had a lot of crypto capabilities, so it would be beneficial for Himalaya Exchange to operate partially with partial control. And it was also mentioned that Mercantile was experiencing a cash crunch at the time.
What's
right?
that mean?
So basically, a cash crunch is they don't have enough liquidity to
like
process.
Reserve? Is that what it is?
Or like to basically do operations. If they ran low, right, as a bank, they didn't have enough liquidity to provide, for example, multi-million-dollar wire transfers from one bank to another. Especially because they were, I forgot the term for it. It was like a specific operation that allowed like. Corresponding. They had corresponding operations, right?
Yeah.
So basically, they had operations where if you wanted to do foreign exchange, one bank would accept cash currency in their currency, and then their corresponding bank in a different currency would be able to transmit. So it's like a simultaneous.
It's like a middle bank,
Yeah,
middle
it's.
bank? It's kind
So
of
I mean, correspondent banks, how it works is Mercantile and another bank, the correspondent bank, they would have accounts with each other, so it's easier to liaison between the two to communicate with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And this just went back to the fact that they were experiencing cash crunch, and that was also during the time that they were introduced to this investment opportunity, right? So it was like we said, very very beneficial for both people to move forward with this relationship. And as mentioned yesterday, it was actually very unfortunate that we learned that Mercantile had actually closed down operations one day before that Mr. Collins was testifying. So
that was I believe it was last Thursday that happened, right?
Yeah,
it was winding down. Do you believe if just out of curiosity, or do you guys think that if they continue to have this business with Himalaya Exchange, then it would be beneficial for them, so the bank probably will keep being open, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like if you're asking for my personal opinion, absolutely. If there were no obstructions or interference, I believe this was a very very symbiotic relationship, and especially for Mercantile, it established itself as one of the few like Puerto Rico banks that could carry these capabilities of correspondence as well. So they worked really hard to establish like the capabilities that they had as a bank. They were dare I say like pretty leading in that industry, right? To be able to have these crypto capabilities. So it definitely would have benefited both of us, both entities to be able to do business.
Yeah.
And I believe the witness also mentioned that he thought Mercantile could grow to become a $1 billion bank as well.
$1 billion bank.
Yeah, and he mentioned that the money that Hamilton was going to invest into the bank was going to go towards long-term growth prospects of Mercantile. So it clearly shows that he had a roadmap already in place for the invested funds and how he wanted to grow Mercantile. And so it shows that he thought of this this partnership as a long-term plan.
Yes, for sure. So first of all, it's very unfortunate that the bank closed down, and then it seems like they had a really really good communication between the two entities, and then they were actually making efforts to move this business forward with Himalaya Exchange. Right. And then was it the only reason why they stopped? Is it because the fund was seized? Correct.
Yeah.
And
so they had defaulted. The initial transfer of 449.5 mil was sent by Hamilton on a Friday, I believe, and then by the time next week had happened, there was no communications from Hamilton and their own banks. So but Mercantile had actually not received anything. So it was later revealed that the funds were actually seized, and that was the reason why they defaulted, and that's how things occurred the way that it occurred, right? So they proceeded with the arbitration against Hamilton to seek, I believe it was 20 million, but viewers may be able to correct me on that, but as to my knowledge, 20 million arbitration, right? So it's an unfortunate circumstance. But I hope the jurors are able to see like the picture, the full picture of what's actually going on behind the scenes.
And
right?
for sure, yeah. All is that to prove that MILESGUO is innocent, right?
Yeah.
There's no fraud, there's no scam, and then all this trying to do the business and to be a successful, investment for everyone that's interested in it, and as well as it benefits not only the investors but the entities that's involved in it as well. You can see from this CEO of Mercantile.
Right.
And so since we have only 5 minutes left, we can probably do some little Q&A. And then we can probably read some comments of the people who are watching the live stream, and then we can answer some of the questions as best as we can as the second generation firefighters. So we can probably.
And while they're pulling that up, we can just bring up some other points. As second generation, we don't have as much of an in-depth view as some of our other fellow colleagues. So we definitely do recommend checking out their shows, to gain a full understanding. But we have been pretty present in knowing that, being present in the court, right? Being the position that we are, I believe it provides us with a more objective view. Like we come from a more less emotional stance of what's really going on behind the scenes. And you can, from my perspective, right? You can tell from the witnesses that the government's trying to pull out Jamie Wilson, Samuel Roberts. They have no connection. No way of linking any of these entities with Mr. Guo. And their witness Hathim Khalid, the way that he was testifying was literally to incriminate himself in court, to drag down the G series by association almost, right?
So he was let's just refresh the recollection, the memory for people that he was the Queen entities.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So we can see the comments here. I agree it's harder to hear. Okay, I have to turn my volume down. Hi Susan, have a great day. You as well. And we have, what's his name? The 1IAM. Rumbles and reviews, Rumble and share peoples. Please share a live stream with everyone, and then learn about the case. It's really important. It's not just to expose the Chinese Communist Party, is also to help the American people to realize, why this is happening here, and then why this trial is happening here, and then why all the funds are seized, and who's infiltration, who's actually interfering in those investments, right? And we might not be personally involved in the investment, but from what we see in the court, from very we can almost say an outsider, because of the investment, we're not personally involved. We can outside of the investment, we can actually get to understand more how this thing works, and then to tell that what is what is true and what is false from the witness's testimony, and then it actually helped our understanding a lot with the other side of the New Federation of China.
So absolutely, like the one IAM guy said, take down the CCP. That has been our objective since day one, to establish MILESGUO as the #1 enemy of CCP, to paint out this picture, right? I definitely recommend people to look up the opening argument of the defense lawyers. It paints a very, very good picture. But to basically wrap it up, since I know we have less time.
This is our other host, Max. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you wanted to add before we end the show today?
I just want to tell the audience, please keep up to date with the case. Read the transcripts, follow us on our socials. We give very timely updates on the trial day by day, and I think so far right now from the trial, as looking at it objectively, I think that you as the audience will find it really clearly that so far Miles is innocent of all those charges. just from looking at the evidence, the testimonies, the cross, the directs, it's just very. If you use common sense, right, common sense and logic, you'll find that the government's case is there's flaws in the case. There's flaws with their witnesses. Right. Some of the witnesses, they're straight out getting impeached, such as Haitham Khalid, and a lot of the other witnesses, they're just have very localized context in terms of the entire trial.
Yes, the context. Yes. Follow the logic, use common sense in the context of who Miles is, what Miles has been, and what he's trying to do. This is the context. This is also a part of the context of to make a judgment, to make a decision. Yes. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Mac. Thank you, Kevin, for giving us such great details of the trial today. And I'm too excited to go to the court tomorrow personally and give us another show and then move on forward. So this week only have Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Wednesday we're off. So please tune in for our show every day at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Rumble, on X, and also follow us on Getter, NFSC Speak. Thank you very much. We'll see you later.
Thank you.
Bye.